Do you know what you should be doing in your life and in your business? So why aren't you doing it? You know that you should be taking care of yourself, having the conversation, setting those boundaries, making that decision to show up in life or in business, letting people see you. You've got the ideas, you've got the strategy. You may even have a plan sitting right there in front of you. But when it really is time to act, something happens. You hesitate, you overthink. You find something else that feels more urgent. And once again, that thing that you know would actually move you in life or in business, it gets pushed back to tomorrow. Now, if you're someone who can see what needs to change in your life or in business and your relationships, but something keeps stopping you from changing it, then I want you to hear this. You're not lazy. You're not incapable. You don't need more discipline. And you probably don't need another course. You might look confident and capable on the outside. You might even help other people move through their own blocks. But privately, you keep asking yourself, why am I not doing the things that I know that I need to do? Right? You second guess your choices. You stay quiet when you want to speak, or you put your own needs last. In your business, you maybe question your content, perhaps your prices, and possibly even your offers. You tell yourself, sorry, you're nearly ready. And somehow, nearly ready has lasted for months and maybe even years. Now, I know how frustrating that is, especially when you've already done so much work on yourself. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why knowing what to do is not always enough, why this pattern keeps returning, and what can finally begin to shift. Now, the first steps is the free Saturn Method roadmap call with me. And I want to say this now because you may already be wondering. It's okay, it's not a pressure call disguised to help. It's not a hard sales call. Right? We'll map out your situation. We'll identify what may be keeping you stuck. And within 24 hours, then I will send you your personalised clarity report. Now that's normally more than 10 pages. And you get to keep that report. Whether you decide to get continued support from me or whether you feel that what we discuss in the call is enough for you. For now, stay with me, because the reason that you're not doing what you know that you should be doing, well, it may very well be a different reason to what you've been blaming yourself for. When you know what to do, but you still can't bring yourself to do it consistently, that natural response is to fix yourself. And you've probably tried. You've bought the courses, you've learned the strategy, you've worked with coaches, perhaps you've journaled and maybe even repeated those affirmations over and over. You've been to therapy or spent years in that personal development. Well, all those things are genuinely valuable. They may have helped you understand yourself. They may have helped put those tools in your toolbox, give you the language to use in those moments of real progress. But then you reach that same point again. And it's time to be honest about what you want, when it's time to have that conversation or set those boundaries or stop abandoning your own needs. When it's time to ask for that sale in your business, raise your price, go live, or let your business become bigger than it has been, and something pulls you back. You assume that you need a better plan. You read another book. You start another routine. You promise yourself that this time it will be different. In your business, you save more content ideas. You redesign the offer again. And you're just going to wait until you feel confident. But if the plan were actually the real problem, well, knowing more would have fixed it by now, would it not have? The truth is that information can't always change the pattern that was created somewhere deeper than your conscious thought. Now, Paula here describes it very simply after doing this work. I am shifting things that I've tried to for years without any proper success. Now, that does not mean that everything that she tried before was pointless. It means that the root had not always been reached. This is what I see again and again. Now, intelligent, self-aware people trying to think their way out of a response that's not always driven by logic. And you can consciously want to grow and still have a subconscious pattern that believes that your change is unsafe. And you can want a different life and still have a part of you working very hard to keep everything familiar. And until that conflict is understood, trying harder often just creates more frustration rather than more freedom. You know how this pattern looks in everyday life. It's that knowing that you need to rest and then feeling guilty the moment you stop. It's rehearsing that honest conversation in your head and then saying, it's fine, when that moment comes. It's knowing a boundary has been crossed, but then worrying that speaking up will disappoint somebody. It's promising yourself that you will make time for your own well-being, then putting everybody first again. And it follows you into your business too. It's that caption rewritten 12 times until you no longer actually sound like you. It's opening the camera, seeing your own face and suddenly deciding, today's not the day. It's watching somebody else go live and thinking, I could do that. I should be doing that. Then feeling a little smaller because you didn't. Maybe you feel like a fraud because you guide, support and care for other people but cannot seem to move yourself through this invisible wall. Now I want you to know that returning to the same pattern does not mean that you have failed. It may simply mean that you've been working at a level where the pattern appears rather than the level of where it actually began. So your subconscious is designed to protect you. It learns from experiences, emotions, the repetition, and the meaning that you attach to each event, and often long before you had the words to explain them. So if being visible, honest, or fully yourself once led to judgment or rejection or embarrassment, maybe conflict or perhaps feeling unsafe, then your subconscious may have formed a simple rule that being seen is dangerous, change is dangerous, disappointing people is dangerous. That rule can keep running even when your conscious mind knows that you're safe now. So when you prepare to speak honestly, when you set the boundary, when you change an old habit, maybe post or pitch or maybe go live or take up some serious space, then that protection begins. You overthink, you feel tired, you suddenly remember 5 other tasks that need to be done right away. You decide, it's okay, that can wait. The conversation can wait. Your needs can wait. The offer, it needs more work. You tell yourself you're not ready. These responses can all look like procrastination, but underneath, they may be a protection. You're not fighting a lack of ambition. You may be meeting a part of you that thinks it's keeping you safe. This is why forcing yourself can work for a day, but it still leaves that pattern intact. Now, the Saturn method, that works differently. Now, through guided subconscious work, meditations, regressions, awareness and transformation stages, we look for what's actually running underneath the behaviour. Not so that you can endlessly analyse the past, but so that you can shift the meaning and response that's still shaping your present. Now, you do not need to be spiritual. You do not need to believe in anything advanced. You only need to be willing to look beneath the surface. The work meets you where you are. And when the roots shift, living and showing up can feel different. Not because you've bullied yourself into confidence, but because part of you that was pulling that handbrake on no longer needs to work so hard. And for many people, this is the moment the last few years actually begin to make sense. You were never broken. Your system was only responding to what it believed was true. And what was learned can be transformed. I want to make this real for you because this work is not just a nice idea, right? It's about what changes in a person's life when the deeper pattern is finally seen. So Carrie Ann came into the work carrying constant self-doubt, low confidence and low self-esteem. And on the surface, those words may sound familiar, but it was the awareness stage that helped her see what sat beneath them. And she said, when I first started, I constantly had self-doubt, low confidence and self-esteem. The awareness stage brought forward what was holding me back. Not just surface level things, but the things deeply rooted that I needed to shift. I felt like I was walking taller, and the Saturn awakening is truly transformational. Now, walking taller, that's not a strategy for performing confidence. It is what can happen when your inner experience begins to match the capable person that's already inside, and that what others can see. Christina recognised that difference too. She could see that her confidence had existed on the surface, but there was something deeper changed when she began living from her truth rather than trying to perform confidence. So in her words, I saw that I was confident on a surface level. Now I'm living my truth. My purpose is clear. And I am so excited for myself and my path. Then there's Maggie. Her experience speaks to the person who appeared confident and capable while privately feeling not quite enough. So she said, week 3 made me realise how much my life had been shaped by feeling somehow not quite enough. Despite appearing confident and capable on the outside. And that biggest thing that I took from the meditation was that maybe I was never meant to hide myself as much as I do. Maybe you are never meant to hide yourself as much as you do either. Sharon described her shift in another way. Something opened up inside me. Like the blockages were unblocked. I am always so hard on myself, the self-doubt, my ego, but that way. Now, these people did not arrive with the same story. They were not all at the same stage, and their patterns showed up in different ways. What they shared was a willingness to look underneath. So if part of you is thinking, that sounds good, but it wouldn't work for me, I understand. Now, Moira was nervous too. She said, I was nervous about this initially, but if you've never experienced this before, please try. You will begin a journey that you may never have thought was possible. Now, you don't need certainty before the first conversation. You don't need to arrive fearless. You can arrive curious, cautious, and just completely yourself. Let me tell you exactly what happens when you book the Saturn Method call. Because uncertainty has a way of making a simple step just feel much bigger than it actually is. Right, so the call lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. It's totally free of charge, no catches. You and I will speak privately. I'll listen to what's happening in your life and or your business, where you feel stuck, what you've already tried, and what seems to happen just before you start to pull back. Then I'll personally map out your situation against the Saturn Method roadmap. Together, we identify where you are now, what's already working, and what may be actually running underneath the pattern. And then within 24 hours, I send you a personalised clarity report. Now, it's normally more than 10 pages and it's tailored to you. It shows you what is working, what still needs attention, and the next steps that I believe will help you move forward. And you keep that. Now, even if you never invest in a programme or support with me, you can still leave with that clarity. Now, this is not a call where I spend an hour trying to overcome your objections. Right? If I believe that I can genuinely help and there is a suitable way that we can work together, then I'll explain that honestly. And if it's not the right fit, then I'll tell you that honestly too. I only work with people I genuinely believe that I can help. So there's no pressure to decide something that's not right for you. The purpose is for you to understand your pattern more clearly and to know what you can do next. Now, as Charles said, Kelly has a genuine gift for helping people uncover what's really holding them back. Her calm, caring approach made it easy to relax and to trust the process. And Mia said she makes you feel completely comfortable, never judged, and always leaves you feeling more positive and empowered than when you arrived. That is the space that I want this call to be for you. Safe, useful, and honest. One conversation in which you do not need to have to pretend that you've got it all worked out. Now, there are two paths from here. In the first path, nothing dramatic happens today. You close this page, you tell yourself, I'll come back when things are quieter, when you feel more confident, or when you have a little more progress on your own. Then life carries on. The same needs still go unspoken. The same boundaries still move whenever somebody pushes against them. The same promises to yourself keep being postponed. And in your business, well, the next post is still difficult. The next offer stays in your notes. You keep watching other people be seen while telling yourself, your turn's coming. Before you know it, a year passes. And you're still just almost there. Not because you do not care, but because the same pattern is still protecting you in the same way. Now, the second path, you take one small step before that confidence arrives. You book the conversation. You see the pattern more clearly. You understand what needs attention, and you stop treating yourself like a problem to be fixed and begin working on the root. Then imagine what becomes possible. You say what you mean without spending hours making it safe for somebody else. You rest without having to earn it first. You make a choice that honours your needs and your future. In your business, you publish without spending hours trying to make every word sound safe. You speak about your work without shrinking back. And you make the decisions from alignment rather than fear. Your life and your business begin to reflect the person that you actually are. And inside yourself, you feel more settled, more grounded, more available for the work that you're here to do. The whole path does not happen in one call, but the decision to take it can begin with one. Now, if you're thinking, do you know what, I don't have time. The call is only 45 minutes to 1 hour. Your personalised report, well, you get that within 24 hours. So you don't need to arrange your full life or commit to a whole programme to take this first step. Now, if you're worried about cost, the call's free. The report is free. There's no investment required to understand what may be keeping you stuck. Now, if you do later want support, well, we can talk about that. We can talk about what's appropriate. But that's not a decision that you need to make just now. And if you're not sure that you're ready, notice that you're still here. Part of you already knows that something in this is landing. Readiness does not always feel like certainty. Sometimes it feels like being nervous, but taking that one honest step anyway. So if you're afraid it will not work, you still have nothing to prove on this call. You leave with a detailed picture of where you are, and what you do next regardless. And if we do work together, then I care about transformation, not simply completion. When the steps are followed in the right order, this work creates meaningful change. And if someone genuinely does the work and does not experience that change, then I continue to work with them. And I've never had to action that promise, but it matters to me that you know how serious I take outcomes. Now, you do not have to believe in everything before you begin. You just have to be willing to look. Now, you did not stay this long because you need another business tip or another piece of advice about how you live your life. Something here sounded familiar. Maybe it was the conversation that you keep avoiding, the boundary that you keep moving, or the post that you keep rewriting. Maybe it was that feeling of being confident in the surface while quietly doubting yourself underneath. Maybe it was the thought that you have spent long enough being almost ready. So the question is not whether you are capable. You are. The question is whether you will let the same pattern make the same decisions for another year, or whether you will take one step today. Now, there's a button below this video. Just click it. Choose a time that works for you and show up just exactly as you are. Now, you don't need to prepare the perfect answers. You do not need to impress me. You do not need to know what the route is yet. That is what we explore together. And then within the 24 hours of the call, you'll have your own personalised clarity report with a clearer view of that road ahead. No pressure, no judgment, just truth and clarity for that next step. Now, you've spent enough time trying to push yourself through this alone. Let me help you see what's really there. So click the button below and book your free Saturn Method call today. And I will meet you there. And from that moment, you will not be looking at this pattern on your own.